Shah classes. I welcome all of you. Now, without wasting much time, let us come straight to the agenda. Why this webinar? As you all know, this webinar is specifically, khas karke it has been targeted, it has been decided, it has been served for the attempt of students who are supposed to appear in the month of May exam. However, because of the current situation, current pandemic, the exam got delayed, and now exams are supposed to be conducted in the month of July end. Now, ever since ICAI delayed the exam, we were flooded with so many calls, so many requests from the students and parents as to, sir, how should we prepare in this time? We very well understand that because of this delay, there is some sort of fatigue, some sort of boredom, some sort of anxiety in all of you as to how should we utilize this time? How should we make the most effective use of this time so as to ensure that we all clear exam, whatever is the exam, foundation, inter or final, we clear our exam in the first attempt. Friends, as of now, all students, whether they are in foundation, inter or final, they are currently watching this video across the country. Now, irrespective of the exam, the current challenges are the same for all the exams. Hence, we thought of you clubbing everyone together and hold this. The idea of today's seminar, it's very simple. What we want is, we want to tell you very clearly as to how next couple of days until your ICI exam in the month of July, you should utilize so as to make the most appropriate utilization and so as to ensure that you make the best use and ultimately it gets converted into success in your exam. So JK sir is going to tell you very precisely how to remain positive and accordingly what activity should do during this time and ultimately succeed in your exam. So without wasting much time, I would like JK sir to take the charge of the entire webinar and guide very precisely about what all things, what all activity you should do so that all of you succeed in your upcoming exam. So JK sir, as you all know, the one who has been serving, who has been pioneer in CA coaching ever since 1983, friends, 37 long years. JK sir has seen so many ups, so many downs in entire ICI life cycle, and none another than him is the best person to guide you as to what should be done, how it should be done, and how to ensure very positive mental attitude even in this trying time, and how to convert this current set of challenges into opportunities. So sir, please take charge of the webinar and enlighten all the students of the entire country of all the exam, foundation, inter and final, as to how they should make their plan up to their upcoming CA exams. Thank you so much, guys.
Hello, friends. Yes, good evening, my all dear friends. As Ashish rightly mentioned, first if I say little about Ashish, who just now addressed you people, is our CEO of JK Shah classes. He's a chartered accountant and rank holder at all 3 CA exams. Yes, friends, as Ashish rightly said, the situation is very different. Students are facing different kinds of challenges. And because there were so many calls, so many messages on the problems that students have been facing, it is because of this that we thought it would be right to hold a webinar like this and to help you navigate this situation. And this must be the first time that I must be addressing all 3 levels of CA students together. The very fact that I'm addressing all 3 levels of CA students together should imply that the problems are common and therefore the solution is also common. This webinar, as you all know, is exclusively for CA Foundation, CA Inter, and CA Final. But those appearing now in the month of July, or in case of Foundation, August 2020. Friends, the situation is very different. This must be practically second time in the whole life of CA Institute also that the exam, which was already announced, had to be delayed, had to be postponed. I remember once in 1990 it happened. But that time, exam was not cancelled. The original exam was kept. But students were given option. If they appear for November exam, fine. If they cannot, then the moment situation returns to normalcy, Institute promised to hold one more exam. And that exam was held in December 90. But complete postponement of the entire exam, and that too twice, first from May to June, and then from June to July. It has happened first time in the life of CA Institute. We all know the reason. Nobody has control over it. But accepting the reality of the situation, we can develop the right kind of reaction. If I talk only from the viewpoint of these CA students who were supposed to sit for May exam, and now it would be in July, the problem is very peculiar. In a way, this is plus point. CS students get more time. So what is the worry? Why we call it a problem? There is no problem. Because we all remember, like final CS students watching this have appeared for Inter in past, maybe CPT or Foundation in past. Inter CS students have appeared for CPT or Foundation in past. I also still remember my own CA exam in 1983. Every CA student on the previous day of exam always feels that if he or she had just one more day or two more days, the student could have created a miracle. If 1 or 2 days could have created a miracle, then Institute this time has given to you almost 3 months extra. So other things remaining constant, like the reason for this and so on. If we purely look at the positive side, we get more time. So it should be a windfall opportunity and not a trouble-making point at all. And yet people are talking about the problem because students are completely clueless as to how to maintain the momentum, how to continue the focus, and so on. They also must be thinking that they were already prepared for May exam. So they had done everything. So now with extra 3 months, what to do? So very different kind of problem. In past, people always were running short of time. And this time students have got so much excessive time that they are wondering what to do. But as we all know, our objective must be to prepare in such a nice way, to do it so strongly, to do all those things which CS students always wanted to do, but could not because of want of time. Now is God-sent opportunity to do all those things so that, so that nothing is left out. Let us do much more than what normally a CS student can do so that we achieve success. So objective is now to think how to plan this time that we have got, which is over and above what we ever expected. And we have to convert this into a wonderful opportunity. It is a wonderful opportunity to learn something new and let us first see. I'm definitely entitled to presume that you all were ready for May exam, which means the coaching class material, since most of you today watching must be JK Shah classes students, I would generally call it JKSC material. But if some of you are not our students, that's fine. This is not about any coaching class. Then whenever I say JKSC material, it means the material, the basic material which you studied to understand the subject. So what exactly are the materials available to you? One, JKSC material. Two, ICAI modules. Three, past papers. Four, mock test papers. And five, the RTP, that is revisionary test paper. Now, CS students always will have dream to cover all these things before they enter the exam hall. Thinking that your exam was to be in May, I am sure all of you were almost ready with all these things. And usually students do 3 revisions. First study, second revision, and third revision. I can reasonably well expect all of you to have done all these things to a great extent. Yes, I would not like to presume that all these things were done because that much time CS students never get. So now what to do? Point number one, of all the things which are available to you, anything and everything which you have still not done, first that must be done. I repeat, first that must be done. You came to know about postponement sometime in the month of April. Almost a month is already over after that. So a few things which you always dreamt of doing but could not do, hopefully you might have done. Then you start at a stage where you are already well set to enter the exam hall. And yet you are left with 2.5 months surplus. We have about 75 days now, but I will count about 70 days or so. So our job today is how well to plan these 70 days so that we pass this exam. Well, friends, first of all, all of you should go in a planned way. In a planned way. Let me first focus on CA Foundation. They have only 4 papers to appear for. Out of 4, 2 are MCQ based, QA and economics and BCK. The other 2, that is accountancy and second paper, law and BCR, are simulation type question papers, that is lengthy answers that to be written. But 4 papers in all, 70 days they have. Though there are 4 papers, but they have 8 subjects. For example, in law, it is law and BCR. So actually 2 subjects. QA, 3 subjects: mathematics, statistics, and logical reasoning. And last one, economics and BCK. On average, friends, on average, you can use about 8 to 9 days per subject. I would suggest maths and accountancy would take little longer than 8 days or so. So maybe about 10 days each subject. And other 2 subjects, about 6 days per subject. So roughly about, you know, 20 days for 2 subjects and 12 days for other 2 subjects. So about 32 days or maybe 34, 35 days. And you quickly revise all the things that you have done. That is our JKC material, module, the scanner, and revise everything. That will take about 34, 35 days out of 70 days. I would also suggest, friends, start 2 subjects at a time, one practical and one theory. So you may take up accountancy as one subject, and along with that, maybe economics and BCK, other subject. One practical, other theory, and that too MCQs. Then second set, QA, practical, but MCQs, and law and BCR, theory, and you have to write lengthy answers. Divide your day also more or less in the ratio of 10:6 and distribute the time. Now friends, roughly in the month of May, foundation students should study for about 9 hours a day. That is for remaining 14 days of May. June, about 10 hours a day. And July, right up to the commencement date in August, about 11 hours a day. You don't need more than that. This much is more than sufficient. In fact, even if half an hour or 1 hour less, that's perfectly fine. This much is enough. Now, all the questions that are there in JKC material, you don't need to solve all of them. Read the question, close your eyes, think of the solution. If it matches with what is given, go to the next question and so on. But roughly about 60 to 75% of the questions should actually be solved. So that is how you study the subject. MCQs also, you will have to work out if it is QA, or you will have to think if it is eco or BCK, and then select correct answer, then look at the answer. For each subject, maintain a separate small book. And wherever you go wrong, chapter-wise, concept-wise, write in your own words where you went wrong. Out of 70 days, roughly 35 days will go this way. Now you have balanced 35 days. In balanced 35 days, take up second as well as third revision for about 70 or 75% of the time of the day. And balanced time, daily, you have to write papers. Which papers are there for CA Foundation? June 18 was the first exam. Sorry, May 18 was the first exam. So 2 exams of 18, 2 exams of 19. 4 exams are over. So you have 16 papers of CA Institute available. Plus for each of those 4 exams, 2 sets of mock test papers were given. That means you have further, papers for all 4 exams, 8 sets are there. So 4 sets of real exams, 8 sets of mock, 12 sets. And plus for your August exam, 1 set of 2 papers will come for each of these subjects. So this way, friends, you have So many papers. Same thing if I restate, for 5 exams, 10 sets of mock test, that is 40 papers. And for 4 exams, 16 papers you have of real exam, 56 papers you have. But so many things would be repetition. So all the things you don't need to do. Also, for some of the exams, only one set of mock test was given. So counting all these things, roughly about 35 to 37 sets of papers you have of your CA foundation examination. In the last 35 days, 70% of the day should be used to have second and third revision, and 30% of the day should be used to each day write one paper at least. With this, you will get writing practice, and writing the paper itself is also revision, friends. You will come to know what types of questions are asked. And once you do this, I can tell you, friends, nothing can stop you from passing the exam. So for CA Foundation students, study all these things, write the papers. That is the key. Last set of paper that you write should be started from the last paper first, then second last, then third last, and then the first paper, that is accountancy. And just 2-3 days thereafter, you will have your exam. So you will have enough time to cover all the papers, all the materials available. In fact, now passing the exam for CA Foundation students would be a guarantee on a platter if they use the time with focus. That much about CA Foundation. CA Inter and CA Final, I will take up both of them together because both of them have 8 papers in all in 2 groups. Same number of exams are over, same number of mock tests, so everything is same. Now, first, JKSC material. I remind you, when I say JKSC material, I repeat, if you were not JKSC student, no worries. Whichever basic material you have used, that is the material. So JKSC material, the modules of ICI, the revisionaries of all 5 exams, and past papers and mock test. This much is in public domain. And you have 70 days. For each of these 8 papers or 10 papers put together, I would like to allocate 6 days per paper. Out of 6 days, roughly about 4 days would be required for completely revising first time. Of course, I'm presuming that you were ready for May exam. And now we are talking about, on 17th of May. Today, perhaps the exam was supposed to be over, but now your study once more starts or it continues. So friends, I must tell you, you have 4 days time to cover on an average each subject once. In some cases, you may require 4 and up to 5 days. In smaller subjects, you may finish in 3.5 days also. Elective paper may take even less time, but on average, I will give you 6 days in all, out of which 4.5 days for first study, though it is revision, but first study. Further, about 1.5 days for first revision, that is second study, and third in about balance, maybe half day or 1 day. But as you go through JKC material and module, please maintain for each subject separate notebook. Whichever new point you get or wherever you make mistake, make a note of yours in your own handwritings. which virtually becomes revision book for you, a Bible for you to see on the previous day of exam. So start going through JKSC material, start going through your module. You already have done it, but still start and do it once more. This way, each subject first should be finished. Now, 8 subjects and 6 days per subject on average. That will take up your 48 days. You still have, friends, 22 days left. Now, if you look at your study schedule for all inter-CA and final CA students, in the month of May, for remaining 14 days, minimum 12 hours a day. For entire June, minimum 13 hours a day. And for July, for those 28, 29 days, you have to study for 14 hours a day. You can always increase it by half an hour or 1 hour. The more you do, friends, better it is. So, if I count something like this, that on average, when you take up the papers, you will be studying for about 13 hours a day. Then each paper takes 3 hours time. And in equivalent terms, you have 22 days. Now 22 days, each day you have 13 hours. At the rate of 3 hours per day, 4 papers can be written. So in 22 days, in equivalent terms, 88 papers can be written. I do not want you to first finish entire study and then write 4 papers daily. No, that is not possible. Not only that, it would be counterproductive. But in equivalent terms, you have enough time to study all 8 subjects, providing 6 hours a day for each of them on average, and yet write 88 papers. This is our target. Now, which papers you have to write? Which papers you have to write? Then, for 4 exams, you have real exam papers. So 4 sets of 8 papers each. Plus for 5 exams, you have 2 sets of mock test. That is 10 sets. So 10 sets of mock test papers and 4 sets of real exam. 14 sets of 8 papers each. You have 112 papers in all. And you have time to write 88 papers. Friends, even 88 not required. 112 not possible, not required also, because of 2 reasons. As far as tax papers are concerned, no point in going through past papers. So definitely both mock test papers of your exam, you must write, and maybe November exam papers you may see little bit of May 2019, because provisions could have changed. You can have glance at them, but no point in writing them. So that will reduce, instead of 14 papers, hardly 2, 3 to be written. So 10, 12 less to be written. Then, in theory subjects, after about 5 to 6 papers that you write, practically repetitions would start. So in equivalent terms, for theory subjects, only 50% of the papers to be written. You have 2 papers which are completely theory papers, that is audit and law. So instead of 28 papers, you may have to write only some 8 to 10 papers. So further 18 gone. So this way, friends, if you remove, hardly you will be left with 85, 90 papers in all. Now coming to practical subjects also, so many repetitions you will see. Repetitions means what? Some of the past exam questions you have seen in JKSC material. Some questions you must have seen in module. Some questions you must have seen in RTP. So after you remove all these questions from these papers, in equivalent terms, you will be left with hardly about 60-65 papers. But except for those tax papers, I want you to go through all papers. Not that you need to write everything, but to go through all papers, which means when you start with supposing financial management paper, you see one question on Forex. If you've seen somewhere in past, that is in JKC material or module or revisionary, then you just read the question, close your eyes, think of the entire solution, and now look at the solution given there. If it matches, no need to write. This way, effectively, though I want you to go through more than 100 papers out of 112, but you will need to write in equivalent terms, hardly 60-65 papers. Theory papers, friends, write fully. In FR and AS, write fully. In fact, in tax paper, IDT, elective paper, costing, every subject, the more you write, the more confident you will feel. So friends, in 70 days, in equivalent terms, 48 days you have to give for 8 subjects. That would include first study, one revision, and second small revision. And in remaining 22 days, in equivalent terms, 88 papers can be written, but you will have to write hardly 60-65. That means you will have 1/3 of the time, or at least 1/4 of the time still left. That is your surplus. But comparing your solution with suggested, identifying your mistakes, making note, all those things also will take time, friends. But I'm here to convince you that you have enough time to do all these things. Now, as I told you, I do not want you to write all papers at a time towards the end. That's not possible. So what you should do, friends, like I told you, per subject, supposing 6 days are there, and for first study, 4 days are there. Then first paper you take up like FR for final CA or accountancy for inter CA. Finish it quickly. Maybe you will take 4 days time. Now, you start from 5th day, daily morning, 7 to 10 in the morning, or 6:30 to 9:30, or 7:30 to 10:30. But first slot of the day should be for writing paper. Accountancy you finished. So finish 4 papers of accountancy consecutively. 4 papers, 8 papers, your choice. You know the total target, but don't finish all papers of one subject. 2 sets you keep pending towards the end for to be done towards the end. Rest you can finish. So daily 3 hours start writing accountancy paper in complete exam condition, and balance part of the time start studying your second paper, that is law for inter CA or financial management for final CA. You are supposed to give 5 full days or 4 full days, but you have 3 hours less. So in equivalent terms, 4 to 5 days, but actual number of days would be 6 to 7. So daily morning, you keep on writing FM paper, FR papers or accountancy papers, and balance time for law inter CA people and FM for final CA people. Once FM is over, now start writing FM paper in the first slot every day. And in the meantime, start studying third subject for balance part of the time. Once you finish that, start writing papers for that subject, and so on. This way, friends, finish. So you don't only study first and only papers thereafter. It should be combination of the two. It is your choice which subject to take up. You may take up even two subjects together also, one practical and one theory. These are all permutation combinations you have. If inter-CA people take up law, it is very small subject. It will never require 4 days time. You will be able to finish much earlier than that. And then you can start writing papers that much more. So friends, this way if you continue, then it will go on for about 65 days out of 70 days. But in 65 days, your first study will be over, your first small revision will be over, second, even smaller revision would be over. First study would include JKSC material, module, RTP. Revision also will be of these things. Second revision also will be of these things. But as you go on doing again and again, revision becomes faster. In fact, once you study FR like for first 4 or 5 days, and then you write 6 or 7 papers, then second revision would be hardly revision. As you will look at it, you will know that yes, you know everything. So this way, friends, for 65 days, you continue with study that would include first study and two revisions, and you will be able to write in equivalent terms about 65 papers, but you would have covered, sorry, about 100 plus papers of CA Institute. My dear friends, I told you 2 sets of papers you keep pending to be done towards the end. Why? In 65 days, 1 set would be covered, at least 1 set. But those 2 sets, I want you to start from the end. That is, inter-CS students should start writing first FM Eco paper, then ITSM, then audit, then advanced accountancy, and so on. This way come up to accountancy. Likewise, final CA people, first, IDT, then DT, then elective paper, then costing, and so on. Last 2 sets should be in the reverse direction. And when in the last set you come in the reverse direction this way, your last paper you're writing is FR or inter-CA students accountancy. I have still kept surplus of at least 5 days, but you will have more than that. Go all out. Study your first subject so well. If you think that much time is not required for first subject, then little bit you can study of second subject, third subject, your choice. Basically, it is not scarcity of time. It is surplus of time. So we are lucky to have a problem of this kind because of this surplus, we are able to do this. No CS student had ever covered all the past papers this way. But some of you also might have covered all RTPs already. Some of you might have also covered many of these papers even. Then go all out. Be very aggressive and start going through the papers prior to May 18 exams also. Most of the subjects and syllabus content to a great extent are same. At least to the extent content is same, you can go through the past papers of those exams also. Practice manual used to be there. Go through that also. Some of you final CA people could be preparing for exam under old syllabus. Then anyway, you should be going through all those things. Just go through those papers and you will start feeling that yes, all those things now you know. So you have rare luxury which CS students never ever had in past, and you have to take advantage of this situation. Secondly, friends, I must tell you, imagine for CA foundation, like I told you 5 mock tests. That means 10 papers and 4 real exam, 14 papers. 14 papers of each subject. And same way for inter CA and final CA. CA Institute has prepared 14 papers of each subject of 100 marks. Syllabus, you know. That syllabus only they have researched and developed 14 papers of 100 marks each. It can reasonably be certified that 15th paper that you people will get in your exam for each subject necessarily will be subset of these 14 papers only. They cannot be innovative now. For theory subjects, 100% paper has to be out of this only. Because in theory papers, boundary is well defined. They can ask the question using different words, different ways of asking, but your reaction would be same. For practical subjects, the form could be different. Substance cannot be different. Substance has to be same. Therefore, friends, anyone who goes through these 14 papers of each subject, I repeat, direct text paper, all 14 papers you cannot see. It applies to inter and final both. But except that, most of the things are correct. Then at least make it a point that come what may, these 14 papers of each subject are seen by all of you, because 15th paper for which you are preparing, these 14 papers are going to be mother of that 15th paper. So there will be no variety for you. You can say today I have told you what they are going to ask you. Substance wise for practical subjects also, whatever they will ask will be out of this. Form wise, it could be little different. You said this is CA exam, there could be surprises. Let us provide for it. In practical subjects, let us say 10% they still invent something new. But what about 90%? Where you all want 100 out of 100 in all papers. 90% paper is in advance with you in a small set of 14 papers. Only a fool will not do it. Do it and you will make it. So that is how, friends, your 70 days are to be used. Now my second and the last part, the attitude. At CA exam, it is 50% positive mindset and balance 50% planning and hard work. Planning, I have given. Hard work means what you have to do, I told you. Now let's look at the other 50%. And that other 50% is infinitely more important than even the first 50%. Because if that positive attitude comes, then you will easily be able to do the first 50% task that I told you to do. That positive attitude becomes driving force for you to do what is needed to be done. So keep all the time your attitude extremely positive. Do not allow any negativity to come near you. Just enjoy your moment. Enjoy your study. Thank God. And also thank your living God, that is your parents, because of whose blessings now you have got so much time to study and to achieve your objective. All the time it should be only and only positive, objective oriented thinking. Your mind must always remain charged up to achieve the target. Like I told you, CA foundation students, 9 hours, 8 hours you have to study, or 9 hours you have to study. ensure that you over deliver. Or inter CA and final CA people, 12 hours a day, start over delivering so that you can go on creating general reserve. You should think this way, that in 14 days, let me study for 14 hours a day so that I create surplus of 28 hours. So even if in the month of June, I study instead of 13 hours for 12 hours, my job is done. Again study for 14 hours. Again create surplus of 60 hours. This is how CS students chase their dreams and achieve them also. Positivity is the key. You have to start believing that you can do it and you will do it. Some of the students could be repeaters, especially, I mean, at all three levels. But if you look at CA Foundation, then since May exam is not the exam which is first exam for most of you, because it doesn't become due that time. Under the new scheme, it is November exam that is first time students become due. So many of those foundation students by default could be repeaters. That means they appear once they've experienced. Now second time, inter CS students, some of them could be repeaters. Final CS students, old syllabus, that means necessarily they are repeaters. Some new syllabus students could be repeaters. No worries, no worries. But being repeaters means you have that much extra advantage over the first timers because you have done this many times more before. Don't think you failed in past. You have to forget. You have to remember the lessons, why you failed, where you made mistakes. Those mistakes you rectify and ensure that you don't repeat them. But it's a new game now. Some of you could be appearing for only one group because other group is already passed by you. Or maybe you thought for May exam you did not have enough time. So somebody thought of final say only one group. Now you have so much time. See, every situation has some positive message. See a foundation people, only 4 papers. So you can say, yes, I will go for a kill now. You should think it is the first serious exam of my life. And now I will make it. I want a wonderful new beginning. Inter-CS students should think that this is second and second last serious exam of my life. I have to make it because once I clear inter, thereafter just one more exam and I will have such terrific, powerful qualification in my hand. You will find yourself that much closer to your objective, closer to your destination. So go all out. There could be some inter-CS students who have already cleared one group, then only one group remaining. Then the time that they have, practically only half of that time is required to do what I told you to do. That means do everything doubly better. Write even more papers, write papers of old examination also to the extent relevant. Same way final CA, appearing only for one group, either because other group already you have cleared, or that anyway you applied for only one group. No worries, then your double time. Write same number of extra question papers of the past examination under old syllabus. The more writing practice you have, the more confidence you will have. You will start feeling that yes, this is the exam. This is what is expected. I know it and I will pass it. If you tell yourself 100 times daily you will pass, that is not enough. That will be waste of time. But if you actually prepare well, actually write papers, your conscious mind and thereafter subconscious mind will start believing that yes, you know everything. That will guarantee the success. That will ensure that you will pass. And when you're writing practice, other advantage. First advantage is tremendous confidence you will get. Second advantage, your speed will increase. You all know CA examination. CA Institute had conducted some study and they came to conclusion that the people who are failing, almost 70 to 80% of them are failing for in all about 5 to 17 marks. If you take average, that's about 11 marks in all for 8 papers put together. For about 11 to 12 marks on average, students fail. 11 to 12 marks. Now, one more study is that 70% of the students who failed were not able to complete the paper. They left out something worth 5 marks to 20 marks. If you take average, 10 marks per paper. Students are failing for 11 to 12 marks in all. And in each subject, on average, 10 marks questions are left out. That means all the things remaining constant. If the students just complete the paper and 10 marks per paper, which they were surrendering, if they don't surrender, and in 10 marks also, you get only 50% marks, that is 5 marks more. Then also, for 8 papers, 40 marks extra you will get, as against 11 to 12 marks, for which students were failing. Imagine, friends, you provide for all other errors in this averaging statistical limitation, but still, as against average 11 to 12, you are getting average 40 marks more. Apply deduction. Still imagine if all other things remaining constant, students complete the paper, then most of the 70% of the people failing would not fail. And when you have this writing practice, confidence will go up. You will get at least some questions in your paper which you have seen before. You will answer them so quickly. You will complete each and every paper. In fact, if you start writing at home after 3 to 4 papers in each subject, you will realize that you are able to finish the paper in 2 hours and 40 minutes, 45 minutes, 50 minutes, which means not only you are completing before time, and you will be able to go through the paper once again before you submit your answer sheet to the supervisors. So speed will increase, confidence will increase, and as you repeatedly write, you will develop knack over how to start answering the question. Speed increases because students, after reading the question, but before they start writing solution, there is lapse of time which goes into thinking as to how to start. That lapse of time will reduce like anything, and stage will come where there would be no lapse at all. And that will create the miracle, and that surplus time would be there, which you will be able to use to complete the paper. Friends, this way you create win-win situation. On the previous day of exam, you go through that notebook that you have written, where all the odd points that you have written, that is your revision. Then on the day of exam, be very comfortable. Don't carry tension or pressure. Have that killing instinct, and with which you will enter the exam hall. 15 minutes time that you get to read the paper before the exam time starts. Develop the strategy, the order in which you will take up the questions. First, you decide which 2 or 3 questions will pick up, ideally 2 questions in first 1 hour, then second 1 hour, and then third 1 hour. Inter-CA and final CA students, as well as foundation students for accountancy paper and for law paper. A good student secures passing 40 marks in first 1 hour because you are selecting the questions with which you are most comfortable. Don't be in a hurry. Even if little more than average time is required, give it. But get full marks in those 2-3 questions. And you will get 40-42 marks in first 1 hour. Then second 1 hour question, and then third 1 hour question. That is what is to be done. For CA foundation student, I would say, when it comes to law paper, first pick up and finish law, which is very scoring. Then go for BCR. When it comes to economics, first finish up BCK, which is very small syllabus and simple. Then come to economics. But if you are very comfortable with economics, fine. When it comes to QA, all of you should first pick up logical reasoning. 20 marks, small, just 5 chapters are there. And out of 20 marks only, 15 to 16 marks you will be able to put in your pocket. Then take up statistics part. Then come to maths part. And you will get wonderful results. So these are the strategies in the exam hall. Even if you are asked something which you think you are not comfortable with, don't lose your heart, because 100 marks question paper is not on that one paper. Focus on the balance part. This is CA exam. Institute can always come out with something which neither you nor we ever expected. And that is why you all love CA Institute. They always give tough time to everyone. And everybody is humbled by every paper always. That's wonderful thing about Institute. But we prepare ourselves accordingly. Do not lose the confidence. Once paper is over, don't analyze. Start preparing for second paper, third paper. Don't discuss with anyone. Nothing absolutely. That is how your attitude should be. Do not speculate whether July exam will happen in July or not. That's not our subject. We have to remain prepared for that eventuality. Do not go into logic like this factor, that factor, so on, so forth. It cannot happen. No. You take it for granted it will happen in July and prepare accordingly. If some of you are preparing for inter-CA only second group, final CA only second group, that means your exam starts in August. Don't speculate on what will happen. Take for granted it will happen as per schedule given, because it is in nobody's hand to decide. So why to speculate? Instead of that, prepare well and let us make ourselves strong. It's a question of career. I told you about foundation, I told you about inter. Final CA people, some of you are clear one group, only one group pending. Then you have so much self-inspiration to go for a big kill, so much time, just 4 papers. Some of you could be having exemption in one of them, just 3 papers, so much time. You can start dreaming that in few months, you will be chartered accountant. Same way, final CA first timers. They should start thinking that after all, this is last serious exam of your life. So let us put wonderful, memorable end to that study journey, get qualification, and then whole life is there to use that qualification. You also are lucky, all of you, that 24/7 you are at home. But more than that, your siblings, your parents are also at home. They give you positivity. They throw positive vibes at you. I always used to tell students that during study time, at least one meal should be with entire family, and that should be dinner because your father is available at that time. But now situation is such, whatever the reason, but your father also is with you only 24 by 7. All three meals you can have together. That will give you unusual power to empower you to study for the next session and so on. So friends, you have only positivity. There is nothing to worry about. Also, at JKSC, we have 24 by 7 helpline. On our Facebook page, subject wise, mobile number is written. You can use it. You need not be JKSC student. As I told you twice, this is third time. This is not about classes. This is not about profession. This is only about your career, your study. And for that, no other consideration can ever be there. Also, do not study anything now which you have not done before. That means pick up some author's book or pick up some other material. As I told you, basic material, JKSE or whatever you have studied already. Then module, RTP, past papers, mock test papers. That's it. This is your lifeline. And if you do it, I am sure you all will come out with flying colors. My heartfelt thanks to all of you for sparing your time today, my dear friends. And my best of luck to all of you. I'm sure all CA Foundation students will pass the exam. All inter CA students will pass the exam. All final CA students will pass the exam. In fact, you prove that 100% result is possible and you will make it. Thank you so much, friends. All the very best to all of you always. Thank you.